My name is Erin Colburn. I'm the Pre-Health Advising Coordinator for the College of Health Science at Boise State University. I am excited to share some more information with representatives from the University of Utah. Miranda Martinez and Laura Herring are from the University of Utah School of Medicine to share information with all of you about being a physician, going to the medical school there, applying, and answer your questions. So I'm going to turn the time over to them and let them share some information with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin. So like you said, my name is Miranda Martinez, and I'm an admissions coordinator here for the U. Up first, we're going to have Laura go. So Laura, if you'd like to introduce yourself, she is from our Root team.
Hi, everyone. So nice to meet you. I'm from the Root and Regional Affairs team. So that means Root stands for the Rural and Underserved Utah Training Experience, and we added on Regional Affairs to cover Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. So we work in all of these states, and I am particularly the Idaho Affairs Coordinator. So I work with all of the Idaho students when they matriculate into the University of Utah School of Medicine. And I typically work with all of you in our pipeline and pre-matriculate program. So I'm so excited to speak to you today. And I have a few slides. Miranda, should I go ahead with those? Okay, let me get those pulled up really quick. All right, can everyone see my screen all right? Okay, so like I mentioned, we are the Root program with the School of Medicine. So we work in the dean's office, and we work in conjunction oftentimes with admissions on recruiting students from Idaho. So very excited to speak to you today. A little bit of story behind the Root and Idaho Affairs mission is that we are aiming to increase the number of health science students and residents in rural and underserved areas of Utah, and now Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho as well. So a little bit of background on the Idaho program. You may know that at the University of Utah, we reserve 10 spots for Idaho students to matriculate into our School of Medicine. So we have a formal contract with the state of Idaho, and they provide the differential tuition. So you mostly come here to the U paying in-state tuition if you're one of the 10 certified Idaho students. And those seats are held every year for Idaho. And so I just wanted to go through a few of our programs that we have available for students. Some of the more relevant ones, make sure I get the right slide. So oops, sorry guys, that was my music playlist. So one of the first ones I'd like to talk about is one of our pipeline programs, and it's called the Root Undergraduate Ambassador Program. You may have heard of it. We just recently opened it to students outside of the state of Utah. So we are now opening it to students from Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming as well. We do have 3 students currently in the program who are in Idaho, so it's really great to see some representation there, but I would love to see all of your faces in the program as well if possible. So this is an undergraduate program, and it's designed to help you do 2 things. One, to help you develop as a medical school or any kind of medicine that you're interested in. If you're interested in PA, nursing, dentistry, anything like that, it's to help you in the medical field to develop your application, to develop your skills. And the second half is for you to serve your community. So I'll talk about how we do that. It's a 2-semester program. In the first semester, you do weekly online professional development modules with us and the Root team. It's completely virtual, so you never have to leave Idaho for this to happen. So every week you join a Zoom call with our team, and we will go through things like professionalism. We will have admissions come talk. We will have some of our adjunct faculty speak. And it really teaches you a little bit more about what it's like to be a physician in a rural area and how you can better develop your application. It also goes over how to create a lesson plan. And that's because in the second semester of the program, you will go into a middle school in your area and teach a health science lesson plan. So it's really a way for you to get help as well, but then to turn around and help other younger students in your community. So again, all of this can be done completely from Idaho. You don't ever have to travel to Utah to participate in this. Our next round of applications is for the fall, and it will open in August. I know that sounds far away, but it's really not so far away when things actually start rolling. So we will definitely keep your advisors in the loop of this and send them the application link, but we really, really want to see students from Idaho in this because it's a really great way to get professional development, application development, give back to your community, and then also to get some face time with us so that when you later on apply to some of our medical school programs, we already know who you are, we know what kind of student you are, what your interests are, and that's really helpful for us. So moving on. We also have the summer undergraduate research experience, and I'm so thrilled to say that we're opening this up to Idaho students for the first time this summer. So this launched last year, and it was only open to Utah students while we were just doing a pilot version. And now this summer we have space for a few Idaho students to come and participate in the program. So a little bit about it, it's a fully funded 10-week research experience for undergraduate students. We provide a travel stipend, and then we also provide a summer stipend to pay you. We provide you with housing. We bring you to campus for 10 weeks. You live in the dorms. You're paired with a research mentor, and you complete a research project on a rural or underserved topic. So we completely guide you through the process, but it's an incredible opportunity for students. The application has just recently opened, so I think it should have been sent to your pre-med advisor, but if not, I will check with Erin here at the end and make sure you are included in that distribution. I'm a little bit removed from this program. There's another program manager who's the director of it, but I've been pushing to get Idaho students involved in it because I really want to see you guys on campus.
Too, because I think that application was already posted, and so this would be a different one, and so we can certainly send that out to students as options as well.
Yeah, so the undergraduate ambassador application is one, and then the other would be the summer research experience. So that would be separate. If you haven't gotten that, we can chat offline. I can make sure to email you and connect you to the program manager for that to make sure that you have all of the details for that. Because I'm super excited. We have room for 3 Idaho students to be fully funded for that this year, which is super exciting.
Very cool. Okay.
Let's see. And then a couple other ways you can get involved in Root, both now and if you were to come to the School of Medicine, because we certainly want you to come here. I won't go through all of these, but we have the undergraduate ambassador program. That's something you could do right now. We have the summer research program. And then if you were to matriculate to the School of Medicine, we will support you in rural shadowing experiences. So I've helped send all of our Idaho students back to Idaho to complete shadowing. We send them to Coeur d'Alene, to Boise, Meridian, all of the places to complete shadowing, all the way from family medicine to pediatrics, OB-GYN, all of the specialties. And we support you that way with a stipend because we really want to encourage you to go back to Idaho to practice if that's your desire and give you that experience. We also have the Rural Speaker Series. That's where we bring rural providers either to campus or virtually to speak to our students once a month at noon. This is typically for medical students who are currently here, but if you are really interested, I will drop my email in the chat and we can add you to that even as an undergraduate student. There's no reason you couldn't listen in to hear a provider talk. If you were to come here, we also have some classes that you can take in rural programs. And then we also have the Idaho Rural Outreach Program. So again, if you were a medical student here, we would fund you to go back to your community to teach in a high school about the health sciences, about your journey to medical school, and do a dissection of a heart. So those are some things. And then also, if you were to come here as an Idaho student, you are required to do one of your 3rd-year family medicine clerkships back in Idaho. And we do fully support that 6-week experience as well and place you with a provider back in Idaho. And then the last thing that I want to talk about here, it's highlighted here in yellow, is our Root Scholars Program. So as I've mentioned, there are so many ways that you can become involved with Root as an undergraduate student and if you were to matriculate here. But something really unique that we've launched in the last 2 years is the Root Scholars Program. This is when you're completing your secondary application to come to the School of Medicine. So you've already done your ANCAS and now you're completing your secondary. There is a section where you can opt in to apply to be a Root Scholar. So this just means if you apply to be a Root Scholar and you're selected as one of the 20 Root Scholars that are selected each year, this means that you're committing to participate with Root throughout all 4 years of your medical school. So this means that you're committing to participate in rural underserved activities, rural research, rural shadowing. If you don't want to commit to that, you can certainly still be at the School of Medicine and pick and choose which Root activities you want to participate in. But being designated as a Root Scholar is a way of showing your commitment to these areas and to being a rural physician upon graduation. So I highly encourage you to apply to Root Scholars if that's of interest to you. You'll see it in your secondary that there are 3 essays to write about. We really want to see students who have an interest in being a rural and underserved physician, that you come from an area like that, or you have experience or desire to return to that area. So certainly don't feel discouraged if you want to participate in Root and you don't want to apply to be a formal Root Scholar. It's completely fine. But if you do, it's a really great program, and I highly encourage you to check it out. And if you have any questions, of course, email me as well. So I'm almost done here. I know that's a lot of information, but here's just some pictures of our students. doing clerkships and other things in rural and underserved areas. This is a picture of what it could be like for you if you were to come here. This is one of our students who did a rural family med clerkship, I think down in Moab. And she said in one day she helped deliver a baby, sutured a wound, diagnosed lung cancer, saw 16 patients, and rounded in long-term care. The reason a lot of our students love doing rural rotations, and something you would be able to do back in Idaho in your third year of medical school, is that as a family, even in just family med, you might be the only provider in many, many miles. And so you may end up doing much more than a typical family med physician in an urban area where other specialists are available. So you get a wide breadth of experience during your clerkship in a rural area. So that is all. And I will just say right here, our Instagram is actually a really great way. We post everything we do. Every program is available on our Instagram if that's a way that you like to get media. And then I will also drop my email in the chat so you can see that. And Erin, I will make sure to send the application for the research program if it hasn't already been sent over to you, because we're really excited about that. So I'll stop sharing. Does anyone have questions about Idaho affairs at the School of Medicine here in Utah?
We're waiting. We're doing the Zoom pause. Put it in chat. You can speak up. Anybody? All right, Miranda.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen as well. We're going to dive into the admissions presentation here. So like I said, my name is Miranda Martinez and I'm an admissions coordinator here. So just some kind of number breakdown for you. So this past 2022 admission cycle, we had 3,931 applications. From those, we had 500 interviews, and then in those, we will accept 125. A breakdown of seats for you guys. So 85 of the seats do have to go to Utah residents. Like Laura mentioned, we have those 10 Idaho seats, 5 from Montana and Wyoming, and then overall there's that 40 non-resident. At least half of those non-resident seats do have to have some type of Utah tie. So that's either graduating from a Utah school, high school, or college or university. So that's just kind of a breakdown for you. Like Laura said, if you have that Idaho certification though, you'll actually pay in-state tuition. So that's super awesome for you guys. Definitely helps a little bit there. So we do have those 10 seats reserved for our Idaho students every year. A breakdown for 2021. Our 2021 accepted students, the average GPA was a 3.75. Our average MCAT was a 512. And then that year we had 75 females accepted and 50 males. So again, that's changes from year to year. But just some numbers for you guys. With the application timing, if you guys are looking to apply this coming spring, May 1st to October 1 is when your AMCAS applications are available. This is an update for us. Our new AMCAS deadline is October 1st, so no longer November. So keep that in mind. June 1st is when those applications can start being submitted, and we definitely suggest applying as soon as you can because we do have rolling admissions. We'll start to receive those applications in July and begin sending out secondary invites as soon as we review them. In mid-August, we're beginning to interview. As we get in those applications, we continue to review them, and we are sending out those interview invites on a rolling basis. So if you wait last minute and to apply, there might not be an interview spot available. So definitely get those applications in as soon as you can. In October is when we first start accepting our offers or sending our offers. January interviews conclude, and then March 15th, everybody is notified of their standing. So either accepted, waitlisted, or declined. So kind of keep that in mind. Apply early on if you guys can get it done. One option, if you guys are dead set on attending U, is our early decision program. So this allows applicants to secure acceptance by October 1st. A few things to keep in mind with this is that your AMCAS applications are due by August 1st. You have to take the MCAT before June. So keep that in mind timing wise. Again, EDP interviews are held in August and September. With this as well, EDP applicants are only allowed to apply to one institution until the October 1st deadline. So after October 1st, if you didn't get accepted as an EDP, then you can apply to other institutions. We definitely suggest if you are thinking about applying as an early decision that you are dead set on the U. And that you have a fairly strong application, because if you aren't accepted as an EDP, after October 1st is when you'll be moved into our regular applicant pool. And at that time, you can apply to other medical schools, but it will put you behind applying for those other medical schools. And then another thing is the AMCAS waiver fee. This is a great resource for you guys applying, so definitely check it out. Applications open in January of the year applying and close in December. Major benefits include the MCAT official prep packages, reduced MCAT fee, subscription to the MSAR, and then they do waive the application fee for AMCAS and cover 20 of those application fees to medical school. So it is an awesome resource to use. Definitely apply for it, even if you are unsure if you'll get it. They have a quick turnaround time. So it usually takes 5 to 7 days of when you apply, they let you know if you receive it or not. So it is fairly quick. Definitely take advantage of it if you can. This is also how you'll get those waivers on secondary application fees. So apply for it, see if you can get it. It's very helpful. Kind of shifting gears a little bit, going more to our application. So your MCAT and GPA score are important. We do have minimums you have to reach, but we do a holistic review of your application. So we are looking at all aspects of your application, not just the MCAT and GPA. Like I said, those minimums though, for MCAT, it is a 500. It can be taken within the last 4 years, and we'll only look at your highest score. So we no longer look at the sub scores. As long as you have a 500, you're good to go. Like I said, we'll always look at the highest total score you have. Some med schools will look at only the latest test score you've taken. So kind of keep that in mind if you're retaking the MCAT and what universities you're applying to. With GPA, our minimum is a 3.0 in science, non-science, and overall. So again, as long as you have that 3.0, you're good to go. Like I said, these are minimums you have to reach, and they do play an important part in your final ranking. So definitely keep those GPAs up, get them up, study hard for the MCAT, get a good score, but it won't be your saving grace. So if you have an awesome GPA and an awesome MCAT score, don't rely solely on that. You do need to have these other experiences within your application as well. And then vice versa. If your MCAT or GPA isn't the strongest, your other activities can help carry you some. So kind of moving into those other activities, one thing we look at is the AMCAS personal comments. So with this, the committee is definitely looking at why you want to become a physician. So make sure you're answering that. Convey your passion for becoming a physician, and you want to make sure that you're sounding authentic. Have other people read your essay, have them spell check it, grammar check. The admissions committee is checking all of that. So make sure you're all good to go. And it's very, very authentic, but cover why the committee is really looking for the sense of who you are and why you want to be a practice medicine. So make sure you're answering that question, and just make sure overall it flows and sounds good. With the AMCAS experience, you have 15 sections, so use as many of them as you can. Describe your experience in detail. So the admissions committee is only going to know what you write down in those experiences. So definitely use the words to explain what you did and what you learned from those experiences. Within that as well, you have 3 or 4 options to make most meaningful experiences. With those most meaningful experiences, explain why they were the most meaningful for you. We're looking at for a diversity of experience as well. So kind of get outside your comfort zone, get those new experiences, and then verify the timeframes on your experiences. A new update for this year is AMCAS is allowing for completed hours and then projected hours. So make sure you're putting those hours in the correct time. If you start a project a month before you submit your application, let's say it's a research project, and you say within that month, you've completed 8,000 hours, and then you projected like 20, they're going to look at that and kind of wonder what's happening, because 8,000 hours in a month is a lot. So make sure those timeframes are correct as well. If you say you've done something for 2 or 3 months, but again, the hours aren't matching up, they're going to question that experience. So make sure you're putting in the right timeframes and the right hours in those experiences. 4 letters of recommendations. The U requires 3 to 4 letters of recommendations. We don't have specific letter writers you have to receive them from, but you just want to make sure that the people you request your letters from know you well and are going to write you a strong recommendation. And then make sure they know you are applying to med school. We've seen some letters where they say they're going to make a great dentist, they'll make a great lawyer. Okay, that's awesome, but you're applying to med school. So make sure they aren't writing anything like that in them. And then request letters from those people who supervised you for lengthy or one of your most meaningful experiences. Again, if you say you've done clinical work for somebody for a bunch of hours, you have like 5,500 hours with them versus another clinical experience where you have like 20, and you're getting the letter of recommendation from that 20-hour experience, they're going to kind of question and wonder why you aren't getting it from that longer experience. So keep that in mind. And definitely avoid letters from family, friends, parents, colleagues. And then we don't accept any letters from University of Regent trustees, the administrators, or public elected officials. Again, we're just trying to reduce those biases. So just make sure you're getting a strong letter from somebody you know. And then keep in mind, a lot of times we see students requesting letters from professors who are getting asked by everybody to write those letters. In that instance, we often see a lot of times it's a copy and pasted letter with your name just plugged in. Those letters of recommendation aren't really going to help you much. So make sure you're talking to the person you're requesting the letter from, ensuring that they're going to be a strong reference for you. They can really help your application. Within our secondary, we do have some required and optional essays. So one of the required essays is why the Utah School of Medicine essay. Really, we're looking for you to explain why you're choosing to apply to the University of Utah. We know there are a bunch of medical schools out there that you're applying to. So this one is a great opportunity to explain any ties you have to the state of Utah. So if you've currently lived here, if you've gone to school here, if you've participated in any of our pipeline programs, if you've done research at the U, anything like that can be included. If you don't have strong ties to Utah, don't worry. This is the best opportunity to explain why you want to be considered for this spot. Another required essay that we have is our social/cultural awareness essay. Again, this is just asking you to write a brief essay to social, cultural awareness, and diversity efforts. The question for this changes from year to year, so I don't have the exact prompt, but within this essay, you can include anything from non-traditional student or backgrounds you might have, if you've ever been medically underserved, race, ethnicity, rural, tribal affiliation, social, economical disadvantage statuses, things like that. If you don't have any of these ties, you can definitely write about what you've seen. A lot of you guys are doing patient care, volunteer, all of the stuff you see it around you. Definitely pull in those experiences in this essay, but definitely make sure you're answering the prompt correctly and not just trying to pull in a bunch of these experiences you might have. Make sure you ensure that you're answering the prompt question. One of the optional essays that we have is our COVID-19 essay. So we all know everyone has been impacted by COVID. A lot of applicants aren't able to do those clinical experiences they have had scheduled or those research experiences they've had scheduled. A lot of things have been canceled. So we know that this is a great opportunity to explain how you've been affected by COVID, maybe why some of your numbers might be a little lower, but we're also looking to see ways you've overcame those experiences. So if you've been able to change gears a little bit and find a new clinical experience or a different research opportunity, definitely include that here. We don't want to just see you guys complaining, but how you overcame those tough times that we've all had. The other optional essay is the Root Scholars essay. So like Laura said, if you guys are interested in applying to Root Scholars, this is the part where you do it. Anything that you've been are a part of with underserved or underrepresented should be included in this section. But like Laura said, this is where you apply for Root Scholars. If you're interested in it at all, definitely make sure you fill out that essay, as this is the time where you apply for it. And then on our secondary, we do have some required activities. So our 3 areas of required activities are community engagement, clinical experience, and then intellectual curiosity. We'll dive into each of these a little bit. So with community engagement and leadership, we're looking at things that you've had within the last 5 years. And then volunteer service must be served without compensation, and leadership should be lasting longer than 3 months. So keep that in mind when you're filling this out. We definitely want to see that you are continuing being involved. So that's why we have those past 5 years. If you've done stuff in high school, that's awesome, that's great, but we are looking for current experiences here. Roles can be anything from tutoring, teaching, mentoring for leadership, and then volunteer experience can be anything that you've done. So animal shelters, crisis helplines, community events, school activities, anything can be included in here. One thing I do like to mention, as we do get a lot of missionaries, is with the community engagement hours, we are looking for those hours that you participated in outside of proselyting. So keep that in mind. Missions, we know you're gone for those 2 years. We're looking at only the hours that you were doing community service outside of proselyting on these secondary. Clinical experience. So any direct patient exposure is required, hands-on patient care or observation. So patient care can be anything from scribe, translator, EMT, CNA, nurse, anything like that counts. Shadowing is also a good option, and you can shadow anybody you'd like. really, we're just looking to make sure that you understand what being a physician is going to be like and that you've had experience in that field. Caring for a sick family member does not meet this criteria, and the shadowing does have to occur in the United States or Canada. So again, keep that in mind. Like I said earlier, you definitely want to advocate for yourself with these experiences. If you think something fits under this area, use the description to tell us what you did and what you learned. In the past, a pharmacy tech hasn't been counted as clinical experience because a lot of them are just filling prescriptions, handing them over, and that's it. Because of COVID now, a lot of them are giving those vaccines, and that is definitely hands-on. So make sure you are describing what you're doing in those clinical experiences, especially if you're questioning if it counts or not. Like I said, we won't know what you did unless you tell us. So make sure you're telling us what you did and what you learned. And then intellectual curiosity, I kind of say, is the catch-all for everything else. So research goes here, and it doesn't have to be science-based research. It can be research in any field. So ethics, agricultural, fine arts, any research that you've done goes here. And you'll want to include any academic projects or achievements. So if you've written a paper off that research, or you've done a capstone, a thesis, include it here. Any award you've gotten, poster presentations, throw it all in. And then creative endeavors, so musical performances you might do, if you've created a podcast, teaching, entrepreneurship, any of that stuff put in here. Again, this is like kind of showing us other areas of who you are as a person, so include things there. Moving on to what we look for in interviews. So we have 3 different assessments that we assess during our interview times. Our first one is the standardized video interview, or the SVI. This is a one-way asynchronous video interview. So student or applicants are asked to answer questions that are based on ethical situations. So 4 of them are verbally recorded answers, and then 1 of them is a written one. It is kind of hard, it is fast, so we definitely tell you guys to practice using the Kira platform is what we use. There's a bunch of practice questions that we have lined up for you. Definitely get comfortable talking through the camera, timing yourself with those questions, because once you start your actual interview, you aren't able to stop it or do a redo. So practice a bunch, make sure you're comfortable with the platform before you begin. The next one that we do is the situational judgment test, or the SJT. This is an online proctor test. For this coming cycle, we will be virtual again. So again, online. This one is, we're looking at you to problem solve situations in daily life, so work, school, just challenges you might face. Basically, you're ranking these on appropriateness, so very appropriate, neutral, very inappropriate, that type of thing. It's pretty straightforward when you're in the test, but it's just an online test. And then the last one is our multiple mini interviews. So these are a series of one-on-one interviews. They're pretty quick and short. You'll meet with 4 different evaluators throughout the day. Again, they're situational-based prompts. So for this, you have 2 minutes to review the prompt and then 8 minutes to engage with your interviewer. So they are quick. Some questions are, why do you want to become a physician? Is healthcare right or a privilege? So questions like that. Again, with these, we use these because it reduces the potential for bias. You're meeting with those 4 evaluators. A lot of our applicants say it has the power of redemption concept. So with the 4 interviews, if you mess up on one or you don't feel confident about one, you have the other 3 to make up for it. So it kind of gives you some lenience there. But tips for these virtual interviews: beware of your background. You want to make sure that you're kind of in an area where there's nobody going to be distracting the interviewer in your background, things going on around you. Dress professional as if you were in person. Again, you want to put your best foot forward, and then practice with those around you, your friends, your family. Get comfortable talking to the camera. Time yourself with these responses. Like I said, you only have 8 minutes to give your response. So you want to make sure that your words are not too lengthy, but you're still pulling in examples from your application, past experiences you've had. So definitely practice going over them with friends or family. And then this is just some of our website connection stuff. Our website is definitely the best option to use for most up-to-date information. So before you fill out the secondary, make sure you review our website for those updates, as they do change from year to year. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of that good stuff. Definitely follow us to keep those updates on deadlines, timelines, things like that. But that is all I have for you. So we can open it up for questions. I know it was a lot of information, so if you're overwhelmed, don't worry. But any questions we can answer now.
Well, and I'll prime the pump so that the rest of you can start thinking about your questions. With the pandemic, what kinds of shadowing experiences are you looking for with applicants where it might be difficult for some to actually gain some of that experience?
Like I said, we have been a little bit more lenient with our shadowing experience, those clinical experiences, but we still are wanting to make sure you guys are getting those hands-on experiences. So anything from shadowing, scribing is still an awesome one. Like the CNA, nursing homes, things like that. We do understand it's hard, so we've opened up what we've done. But really anything you can get with those hands-on experiences will count for it.
I actually have a question. So I did my undergraduate, or I'm doing my undergraduate in radiology. And with that, I have to meet a certain amount of clinical hours every semester. Would those count towards my clinical experience here, or are they kind of like, oh, they do?
Yeah, they would count. Yep. So you just want to explain what you did in that description and you'd be good.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
I had one. You were talking about volunteer opportunities and even leadership opportunities. Aside from the clinical opportunities, where do you think the best idea to look for those opportunities? I currently work as a medical scribe and I do that for the clinical experience, but I've been curious to find like volunteer and leadership opportunities, but I didn't know the best way to go about looking for that.
Yeah, so a lot of people find it through their institution, different just community volunteer services that the institution does or clubs on campus that they get involved with. Really any volunteer work you can do counts in that area. So anything you do will work for it. And then leadership, again, if you can get leadership within those community service, that works. Club, sports, any leadership would work for it. We don't have really any specific kind that we're looking for.
Thank you so much.
Go over what the like the day in the life of an average medical school or medical student looks like? I'm sorry.
So it's very different for every medical student depending on the year as well. I know a lot of the classes now aren't required to be in person. They record them, so you can kind of pick and choose which classes you want to go to in person versus watching them online. Some of them are required in person, so it really just depends. A lot of our students will often go skiing, hiking in the afternoon, things like that. But yeah, classes are usually in the morning, studying towards the afternoon.
Thank you.
I had a question for you. You had mentioned, I think, 3 different interviews: the standard video interview, the situational judgment interview, and then the multiple mini interviews. And is that third one? I guess, is that all the interviews that are going to be happening?
Yeah, so the standard video interview happens before your interview day, so you do that on your own time.
Okay.
Once you get invited to the interview, we send it to you and it's just done online. The situational judgment test and then the multiple mini interviews happen the same day, kind of interchangeably. So we have a group doing the MMIs and a group doing the test, and then they switch. But yes, those are all the interviews.
Awesome, perfect. And then are they all online?
Yeah, so it's going to be all virtual again. So the
Great.
mini interviews are through Zoom, and then we proctor the SGT also through Zoom.
Awesome, that's perfect. Thank you so much.
And just to put a plug in, we offer a mock MMI. So we will be doing that at the beginning of April. So watch for invitations for that opportunity. We're also doing an interview and preparation workshop where we focus on the situational judgment test types. We also focus our MMI in the spring towards those. And then in the fall, when we do MMI again, we try and blend it with interview style questions as well. So just a plug for our stuff that we provide for you as resources, y'all. You should consider participating.
To add to what Erin said, with our MMI, are generally the ones that are getting ready to go to the pre-professional programs, are the ones that do the interviews. But even as young as freshmen are allowed to observe, and we recommend that.
So watch somebody else do it, then try your hand at it when you're ready.
Mhm.
Other questions for the U?
Okay, I've got another question. Is it possible to get the PowerPoint that you were looking at on the admissions?
So we don't share our PowerPoint just because the information changes too frequently. So our website will have all this information on it. You can always send us an email though if you do have questions as well.
Perfect, thank you.
We are recording it, so I mean, you can go back and watch the recording again and slow it down and take down some information that way as well. Anybody else? Miranda, how does the U view AP credit? So AP scores, in taking course via AP during high school.
So the only one that meets our prereq is the chemistry. You have to get a 4 or 5 on it. The other courses we don't count as our prereqs. So chemistry 4 or 5, that will count as one of your prereqs. The other ones don't.
Okay, perfect.
Is it the same standard for like testing out of like English 101 or
So yeah, so
dual credit?
it depends on what it is, because we do have those prereqs you have to get. So you can test out and then take any of the higher levels you want, but you do have to complete the certain amount of prereqs for each thing. English isn't one of our prereqs, so you don't have to worry about testing out of that one. But if you test out of like a lower biology, you'll have to make up the higher biology class later.
Oh, I see. Okay, but if you've completed the like if I test out of like biology 100, but I complete like biology 200, then that's acceptable.
Correct. Yep. You just have to have the certain amount of classes for each of those requirements.
That makes sense. Excellent, thank you.
And if any of the students have questions about that, I think the admissions office at the U is also really willing to talk to them about what might actually fit their requirements. So like if you have questions about something that you counted and where it might not fit, you can certainly reach out to them. Miranda just put her email address in there. You can reach out and make those questions more direct and more personal. But thank you for that, Miranda. Any other questions from the group? I'm going to look through the chat real quick and see if anybody posted any. Don't see any.
And then I just posted our website on there. It does have the prereqs. If you scroll closer to the bottom, you'll see all our prereqs and all of that stuff you need.
You can also follow them on Instagram and on Facebook. And is Dr. Chan still doing his podcast?
He is. He's on a hiatus right now, so they aren't being currently updated, but there are still those old ones to watch.
I can assure you, students, that a lot of our previous students really partook with those and enjoyed them. The podcasts are from the Dean of Admissions, and he does a great job of kind of talking to you as a pre-med student. And so those are available on their admissions page too. There's a connection there to see those podcasts. So I encourage you to think about that as well. So anything else? Well, I want to thank both Laura and Miranda for their time today. If there isn't any other questions for the group, I'll hang out in the room for a few more minutes. I'm going to stop the recording, and please